You talked a little bit about Haskell on Saturday, but what did you see of his return and his kind of determination to get back in the fight? And Coach Combs talked about how he would show up, just go through the mental reps, while he was still all stitched up, et cetera.
Well, I think everybody gets a lot of credit for that. I thought that, when the incident happened, our medical personnel here were on top of it right from the jump. We were able to get him in with a great surgeon, and the recovery was excellent. And then I thought our people here, Mick Marotti and Larry Johnson, our training staff, did a great job getting him able to play in a game without a ton of contact leading up to the game. So, and ultimately it's a great job by Haskell, getting his body and mind ready to play well without getting a lot of those reps. So it was a team effort, but at the end of the day, you got to give Haskell the majority of the credit.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go next to Austin Ward from Letterman Row. Austin.
Hey, Ryan. I know that Friday is availability report day, but just in case, no matter what happens with Chris Olave, if he couldn't go, what would that mean for you guys?
We just move some things around, just like we always do, and that's where, depth comes into play. So we'll see as the week goes on how it goes.
You were able to we saw the touchdown for Jackson, and Julian caught one ball. I think he was out there a little bit. For a debut, when you guys looked at the film, what did you make of those freshmen?
Oh, I thought they competed. They did what typically they do in practice. I think the big thing for all of them is just the toughness and the physicality of playing in a Big Ten football game, and protecting and blocking and those type of things. And I thought they ran good, some decent routes, and for the most time caught the ball well. So it was good to start off of in terms of starting point, but we still got a lot of work to do.
Thanks.
All righty, we'll go next to Dave Biddle from 247 Sports. Dave.
Hi, Ryan. After reviewing the film, how do you feel like your running backs played?
I thought they were solid. I thought as the game went on, they played better. Same thing just with the run game in general. I think early on, it was just okay. It's kind of what happened the first game. So, we're really looking hard to take the next step in game 2. And one of the things you just don't get used to is going against those different fronts. And, in terms of a scout team, the look just isn't the same. So, but as the game went on, I thought it got better. And the more, we go against, different looks, I think the more comfortable we'll get. And then, the running backs got to continue to get tackled and get a feel for what that's like, keep their pads down, and see the different, cuts that are there. So I don't think it was, great early on, but I think as it went on, it got better.
In 2017, you were here. You were in Happy Valley for the whiteout as Ohio State's offensive coordinator, led the big comeback. Urban said it's like a 10-point difference having no whiteout. You think that's hyperbole from Urban, or do you concur with that?
Well, I think that's a really great environment. It's loud. It's hard to communicate. So it'll be different. It was different here last week, and so yeah, that part is strange. But it's the same for each team week in and week out. We're all dealing with the same set of rules. So it's just how do we handle it better than our opponent? That's just kind of the focus. But it certainly will be different.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Brendan.
Hey, Coach, I want to follow up on the running backs question, specifically on Steel Chambers. Can you tell us what most impressed you about the way that he played in his couple of carries?
Yeah, I thought he ran hard. I thought he saw the one on third down that opened up. I thought the line did a great job there, and he finished his run hard. And I thought he ran with good pad level. Didn't have as many carries, but when he was out there, I thought he flashed a little bit.
About the fact that you're preparing to play your first road game here now, can you tell us about your comfort level with all the logistics and all the things that are going to go into playing on the road here?
Yeah, it's very, very different in a lot of areas. Just going to the hotel and we have to have protocol in place for how do we handle the food, where do we come together when we eat, all those things, the plane rides, the bus rides, how do we space that out? So it's a lot of stuff. And, Brian Voltolini, Quinn Temple, and so many people here are working hard to make sure those logistics are good. But, it's our job to make sure we cover all that stuff so the players don't have to worry about it. So there's as few distractions as possible because, like you said, we got to go get our first road win. And it's hard. No matter what happens, it's hard to win in Happy Valley. So we've learned that before. So we'll work hard to make sure that plan is organized, it runs smoothly, and then the players are able to focus on the game.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to Stephen Means from Cleveland.com. Stephen.
Justin ran it 15 times on Saturday. Were you comfortable with that amount and just how much he got kind of banged up, including the sacks they took?
Yeah, I thought he did a great job. Most of those runs were scrambles, and that's about what we do in terms of, in the run game. He'll pull it some, and but a lot of the running was passes, and I thought he extended some plays really, really well, and that's part of his game. There's going to be sacks, but there's also extended plays for huge plays, and that's the game for Justin. That was different for Dwayne. It was different for other quarterbacks, but for him, for every sack, you're going to get 2 or 3 extended plays. There's like 3 in particular. One was a touchdown run. If you tell him just to throw it away there, he doesn't scramble for a touchdown. So there's a give and take, and I think as the year progressed last year and even in this year, he's doing a good job of it, taking care of the football, making the decision at the right time. And I think there are times maybe he can keep his eyes downfield a little longer, but overall, I thought it was a really good game for him.
Were you happy with the way the line pass protected?
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. Yeah, I think some of the routes we had were long developing. The pass to a Garrett Wilson, I thought the protection was excellent. I thought the running backs did a good job in protection. So yeah, overall, I thought it was really good. There's certainly things to clean up and areas we can improve on, but if we can just keep building from there, we'll be in a good place.
Okay, we'll go next to Tony Gurdaman from Buckeye Scoop. Tony.
Ryan, we got to see one spring practice, and in that practice, Jackson Smith and Jigbo was making all kinds of plays. And I know you've seen plenty more than that. But what was your thought, I guess, after watching film of his catch, touchdown?
Not like that, but we see that very often in practice. Just amazing catches. We kind of have some acrobats out there, and so yeah, when you practice that way, it shows up in the games. And so very happy to see him get his first touchdown. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and along those lines, what's it like for a head coach when you see when that true freshman makes their first big play in Ohio Stadium or in any game?
Well, it's exciting, especially when you go through the recruiting process and you spend so much time with he and his family and communication and talking to him about the possibilities of what could happen, playing in the horseshoe, playing in big games, playing in conference plays. And then all of a sudden you see something like that in his first game. It was pretty neat.
Thanks.
We'll go next to Bill Landis from The Athletic. Bill.
Ryan, how much do you think rhythm matters for a running back, and how difficult might it be to get some of that when you're trying to work in 2 guys the way you guys were on Saturday?
No, I see a lot of people do it. We've done it here before. I don't think that really comes into play. I think sometimes you can get a feel for how the game's going, and then you can wear people down, and if you can sustain a drive longer, then that's an advantage. But I think keeping them fresh is really, really good. And I think it has more to do with just, recognizing and seeing, what they're doing on defense and seeing the holes, keeping your pads down. And then once we get you to the second level, it's your job to make that safety miss. When the offensive line gets you to the second level or even the third level, that's when you got to go. And it doesn't matter whether you've had, 1 carry or 50. You got to do your job at that point. So, as long as those guys are getting, multiple carries in the game, multiple carries every other drive, I think they feel the flow of the game very, very easily.
And on the other side of the ball, how did you feel about the way you guys defended the quarterback run, especially now coming into this week where, Sean Clifford's a pretty mobile guy and they do that package with the backup QB too? Yeah, I thought it was solid overall. There was one or two where they squirted out on the long run by Adrian. The defensive tackle just didn't run the stunt the right way. If he goes left instead of right, the play's kind of dead. But that's what team defense is.
And those are the things I'm talking about. Whether it's in pass protection, whether it's in the run game, whether it's, a stunt here or there, all it takes is one play against a team like Penn State, you lose the game. So we got to clean all those things up this week. And that's where I think the difference of the consequence of practice and the consequence of a game have to be felt. And overall, I thought the guys did understand that, embrace it. But we got a lot of things on film to show. All it takes is one guy on one play in all three phases, and we can lose the game. So, to answer your question on the quarterback run, I think it was good, but we're going to get a lot more this week.
Okay, we'll go next to Rob Oller from the Columbus Dispatch. Rob.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, there's a big difference between a program getting to the top and staying on top, and I know you haven't done this a long time, but what are you seeing as the challenge of staying up there? What are the things you have to do with it day to day?
Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to recruit. You got to recruit every day. You got to recruit at a high level. If you don't do that, then that's the first way to get your program going sideways. So it's something that we have to do every single day. And then, the second thing is everybody's swinging for you. Everybody's you're going to get their best shot week in and week out. And this being a strange year, not having a bye week, and we're going to have to bring it every single week. And so you just can't have a bad day. And then the other part is the expectations. Sometimes they're just ridiculous. Sometimes we win 52-17, and some guys are walking around the locker room like, man, what happened? Like 52-17. I mean, it's a pretty good day, boys. And I think just that part is probably the biggest challenge. But those are all good problems to have, and I think we're in a good place. We just got to go get this one. This win right here will go a long way for us. And so it's all hands on deck. It's a very, very well coached team. They play well in all three phases. And so, we got our hands full this week. So we gotta make sure that we're on top of our game, having a great week of practice.
With the virus, can you calculate? I assume that you can see and feel that you're a little bit behind, as everyone is. Are you 2 weeks behind? I mean, what's your estimate as to really when you'll be kind of up to snuff, running where you want to be?
Yeah, I think we probably have another week to figure that out. I think we learned some about ourselves in the first game, but we're at least a couple weeks behind for sure. And I think, that's where good teams really improve a lot from week 1 to week 2. And so if we can accelerate this thing this week and have a great week of practice and fix some of the things that we need to get fixed, that'll be important in terms of the catch up.
All right, we'll go next to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Dan.
Hey, Ryan, you named Chris Booker as your special teams player of the week this week. Just wondering what he's done as a walk-on to kind of put himself in that position.
What a tremendous story. I mean, between that and the Haskell story this week, Chris Booker's a guy who wasn't playing football. And Tim Hinton, met with him. He was on campus. And he was enrolled in school at Ohio State, and 2 years or a year and a half later, he's special teams player of the week, in a conference win against Nebraska. Just an unbelievable story. What he's done in the weight room with Mick, what Brian Hartline's done in terms of turning the receiver, and then his work on special teams with Matt Barnes. I can't say enough. You talk about a big heart. He wasn't playing football. I asked him in the team meeting, how many stars were you? He said 0. I wasn't recruited by anybody. And it just goes to show you when somebody wants something enough and they have a big enough heart, anything's possible. And what an inspirational story. And that was really, really cool to see.
There's been a few guys that have come from the club football program to playing on the varsity team at Ohio State. How do you think that helps to kind of have, another football team on campus?
Well, I mean, this is, very, very unique. And our walk-on program right now, and some of our walk-ons are tremendous. When you think of some of the guys that are contributing right now, there's a lot of walk-ons. Mitch Rossi, Kate Kaczerski, Xavier Johnson, Zaid Hamden, Sam Wiglis, Schmeezing. There's a long list of guys who are walk-ons that are really, they're contributing. And that really helps a program, especially in a year like this. And I think we're going to see a lot more of those guys get time as this season goes on.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, we'll go next to Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch. Bill.
Yes, Ryan. Were you surprised that Haskell could make that kind of an impact when he has been so limited? And what does he bring to that defense? How important is he given the depth issues you have at that position?
I'm not surprised because I know what Haskell's capable of, but I am really impressed with the way he played. And again, you got to give a lot of credit to everybody involved to get him ready to play at that level after such a traumatic event. So while I wasn't surprised in his ability on the field, it was pretty impressive to see that quick turnaround. And if he can continue that, he can have a major impact on our defense in a position that, we all had our eyes on going into this first game, and that was big.
And you touched on this with Rob's question earlier. It's a kind of a cliche in football to say that you improved the most from week 1 to week 2. Given the great offseason that you had, how important is it to really make a big jump this week, especially when you're playing a team that's going to be hungry after what happened to them last week? Yeah,
I mean, they're always going to be hungry when they play us, but certainly, when you lose a game like that, everything's really, everyone just gets a little bit more hungry. And like you said, we got to do a great job this week. And the issues are there, and we got to get them addressed. And that's coaching. Got to get them addressed. Got to get them fixed. And again, the goal is to win the game. It can't be anything else. Like I told the guys, the last few years here, it's taken to the last play of the game to go win. And that's got to be the expectation. And one thing we got to do a better job taking care of the football. When you look at the last couple of years, we had too many turnovers, too many fumbles, and we got to do a good job of that this year. Something that is going to be hammered, really from Sunday night all the way until we kick the ball off. So anyway, big game, we'll see, but this is a big week of practice for everybody.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, we'll go next to Doug Lemarese from Cleveland.com. Doug.
Hey, Ryan. Garrett playing in the slot in week 1, it seemed like you used him, you moved him around, used him in different ways. I know he was outside on his deep touchdown. I think the 4th down play, you had him lined up right next to Ruckert in the slot. Seems like you put the defense a little bit of peril there. Can you just talk about utilizing a guy like that, his skills, and deploying him in different ways, and the way you guys can put pressure on a defense with Garrett from that spot?
Yeah, I think the first thing is having more than one weapon really helps, when you're game planning. But Garrett really does have a lot of versatility into his game. He can play outside, he can play inside, he can play big, he can play in the quick inside. He's got great timing down the field. So he's got quite a skill set. So yeah, we're going to try to find ways to put him in the most advantageous situation. But it's not just him either. We have, whether it's Chris or Jameson or Jackson or our tight ends with Ruckert and Luke, and there's just a lot of weapons there. And so we got to try to figure out the best way to utilize the personnel that makes the most sense, and that's what coaching is. So, but yeah, he was off to a good start. Now he's just got to continue to keep growing and get stronger as the season goes on.
And just when you're at a place like Ohio State, you're going to have great offensive skill players every year. But as you're game planning, can you just describe the thought process of this is what we want to do schematically versus these are our particular guys, this is our particular personnel and their skills, and how can we best utilize that constant balance of scheme versus accentuating players?
Yeah, I think it's the way you described it. It's first off what makes the most sense schematically, and then how do you put the players in position to utilize their skills best. That's kind of how we do it. Not the other way around. You have to figure out what you think is the best way to attack somebody, and then plug the guys in that are gonna show their strengths, and that's how we do it.
And I'm sorry to follow up, just last thing. The thing you mentioned about the balance of big plays versus sacks with Justin, and that maybe you have to live with the sack because you get 3 big plays out of it. I remember last year early on with him, you said one of his best plays in a game was throwing the ball away, and that's when he was a young quarterback. What's that evolution been like for you of okay, maybe we got to let this guy try to hold on to the ball because we're going to get something good out of it?
I think if you're 2nd and 18, not good. I mean, that's a mistake. I think if it's 2nd and 11 and he just got caught, not bad. We can live with that, because for every one of those, we're going to be 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 3 because he's going to scramble for 7 yards. That's all that hidden yardage that I don't think anybody realizes, and so, there's times where, if he gets flushed and he's 8 yards behind the line, he's got no right taking a sack at that point. I think that's the give and take and figuring out that part of it, because once you get into, 2nd and 18, there's no good plays there. So that's all part of it. And when you find yourself in those situations where you're going to take a big, loss, that's when you got to ditch it. So that's the idea.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go next to Kyle Rowland from the Toledo Blade. Kyle.
Hey, Ryan. Road teams across college football this year have won at a pretty high rate. Without fans at Big Ten games, do you think home field advantage will be largely neutralized?
I don't know. I can tell you it was different for us. I share the story about Seven Banks, picking the ball up and scoring. The place would have been going absolutely wild, especially during that stretch. We kind of had some momentum going there. You didn't feel it. It was just like another day of practice. So it's different. And I don't know, maybe if it's the momentum swings, whatever it is, it's different. But it's different for both teams, and we just got to deal with it.
The crowd and atmosphere is like the obvious huge difficulty on the road. What are the other elements that make road games difficult for teams?
Just how are they different? You don't stay at home. Once you get done, you take a plane ride, you're traveling, you're sleeping in a bed that you're not used to. You're a little bit out of your routine that way. But the positive is, you're kind of away from, although we're isolated right now anyways, but usually, you kind of get away from everybody. You just kind of get on the bus and you get on the plane and you're just with the team. So sometimes that's good. There's a little bit less distractions that way than when you're home. But it's just dealing with that. And then, after the game, you got to fly and you got to get back, you get late at night. But other than that, it's something you get used to, especially, for the older guys who have been through a lot of games on the road before.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up is Jared Smalley. Jared.
Hi, Ryan. As you saw Saturday, Penn State lost a game that statistically they should have won, and maybe won fairly comfortably. Did they look like the team that you kind of envisioned them being?
I think they look excellent on all three phases. I think they look well coached. I think they have good talent, and this is going to be a tough game. A very unique game, like you said. The score doesn't really tell the tale, and watching the film, they have good players on all three phases, and they're well coached. So this is going to be a difficult game, and a lot of respect for James and his coaching staff over the years. And you got to earn wins against these guys. So it's going to be one of those games where we got to start from the beginning, take care of the football, play really strong, get the game into the fourth quarter, and win it in the fourth quarter.
And two places in particular where they had a transition at a position, defensive end with Parsons not there, and then Journey Brown, the running back, not being available for them. Any sort of view on how those positions they fared and maybe the depth that they had there to move forward?
Well, those are two very, very good players, and very unfortunate that America and the Big Ten aren't able to see those guys play. Hate to see that. That's not good for our conference. And anytime you have good players like that, certainly it's felt. But it's like anything else. You just gotta rally and move on, which they are doing, and they have really good players. They've recruited well. So there's other guys that are playing, but certainly you don't easily replace good players like that.
And we'll go next to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com. Nathan.
Hey, Ryan, I asked this obviously in light of what's going on at Wisconsin this week, though I assume you probably thought of it earlier, but was there any adjustment made to the way that your quarterback room specifically congregates or associates in terms of trying to mitigate any contact tracing problems if something does come up? Or do you kind of have to just trust the testing and go forward with operations as usual?
We break it up. When they're in the quarterback meeting room with Corey, they obviously are all masked up and distance, and they do a great job of that. But I'll grab Justin and kind of take him on my own sometimes, just to for a lot of reasons. But that's one of them, to kind of keep him away from some of the other guys. But what a tricky situation. It's just it's a very, very contagious virus, and I feel for all these teams that are going through this. And that's where, just keep talking to our guys about it. You just cannot take a deep breath, because once it gets one guy, there's a lot of people at risk. And so, yeah, it's not easy, but that's something we try to do.
And specifically for your defense, matching up against Pat Fryermuth, just what problems does he cause, maybe especially for a linebacker group that's still maybe kind of getting its feet under it as it shifts positions?
Excellent player, mismatch and really can be a mismatch in both areas, the run game and pass game. Very competitive, good ball skills. And so, yeah, he can be a mismatch for sure.
All righty, next up is Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Ryan, a little bit of a question about recruiting our high school players, but there have been some guys who have opted out of their senior seasons across the country, either just for COVID reasons, or they're not having a fall season of some kind. Obviously, different positions probably need the development in different ways, but for a quarterback, what's the importance of having like a senior season or something like that for their getting a couple games under their development? Because I can't imagine they can go off and train in the same way.
No, that's the thing that is so difficult about football. You can't really practice football other than play it. You can't go, like in basketball, you can go shoot hoops or drills or, work kind of one-on-ones or play a pickup game. Baseball, you can go and, take batting practice. I mean, just about every sport. But football is different, certainly for a quarterback. You just don't get – you can say 7-on-7. 7-on-7 is unrealistic. I think 7-on-7 sometimes hurts quarterbacks because they're just not used to playing in the pocket. They start throwing balls that are unrealistic. So playing the game is the number one thing. When you look at the success of the guys who play in the NFL, a lot of them have a lot of game experience under their belt coming out of college and high school playing in the NFL. It's just the truth. And a lot of that is because you can't replace experience. So yeah, the more of those guys can play, the better off in terms of their development.
Do you all worry about their development sometimes?
Do I worry about whose development?
Just in general, like if you're losing a season like this, or you're having like a season of 4 games, like what is the tangible impact of that down the line?
Sure, it could. They're going to be a little bit behind. So, you take that into consideration. But again, it's the same for everybody. You got to. For these recruits, it's not their fault. So, I mean, they'll get developed, but yeah, I mean, obviously they would all want to play, I would assume, as long as it's safe.
Alrighty, got time for a couple more, and we'll start with Tim May from Letterman Road. Tim.
Hey, Coach Day, appreciate it. 3 quickies. Number one, your backup quarterback situation, is it going to be fluid all year? Is Jack the backup as we speak right now? Just what can you enlighten us on there?
Yeah, it's an ongoing deal. And at some point, if one of them jump in front of the other, then we'll go from there. But as of right now, like I said, there's just lack of reps, like we just talked about. So they're still battling, still learning, they're still trying to figure it out. They're getting better. They're showing some flashes here and there, but we'll just keep that going and kind of take it week to week.
Is your question mark at running back now, question as in quandary of who plays, et cetera, is still Chambers now in the thinking now of a top 3 instead of a top 2? Just where does that fit?
I mean, we're not changing what we're doing, but Steele is certainly capable to get in the game, and if it calls for that, we feel comfortable putting him in there.
Yeah, and let's say, Penn State specifically, what do they do defensively? What did you see as you looked at their game against Indiana? Because they were pretty tight against Indiana until really the last 2 minutes, and there were some miracle plays made to a certain extent. But what just jumps out at you about their scheme and what they do defensively that makes them special?
Personnel, they have really good players. The defensive ends are excellent, and their scheme is just really solid. They don't give you big plays. They make you go all the way down the field, and they combine keeping it in front of you and playing really good zone defense with being aggressive and blitzing. Those guys really like to blitz. They're really aggressive, and so you have to be ready for that. You got to be able to handle the pressure, or else they'll just keep coming at you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yep.
All righty, and our last questioner for the day will be Chris Mueller from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Chris.
Hey, Coach. Marcus Hooker is a local product here from Pittsburgh. What did you see from him in his debut this week, and how have you seen him kind of grow from year 1 to year 3 now with the program?
He's grown a lot, maturity-wise for sure. I thought he was solid for the most part after the first drive, and he's only going to grow with more experience. But it's been great to see his development and the way he's worked, the way he's got to really spend quality time with Kerry Combs and Matt Barnes, and they've really done a great job with him. But he's an integral part of our defense, and he's going to have to be solid for us, just like Jordan was last year. And he's going to be really a direct effect of how good our defense can be. So it was a good start, but certainly again, like we all have a lot to look at on film and get better at. So bigger challenge this week, and I think he's going to be up for it.
Are there any ways that he compares to his brother Malik, maybe in his approach to practice or his character, his work ethic, or anything in particular that he does that you see and you think of Malik?
Listening to some of the guys talk, there are some characteristics that they both share, but I wasn't here with Malik, so I don't really know. But listening to Kerry and listening to Coach Mick, they do have some different characteristics apparently that that brothers I typically would have. So I'm hoping they have a lot of things in common. We'll see as the season goes on.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to click on that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing, and come visit us over at BuckeyeGrove.com for all the best Ohio State information on the web.